Hey guys, welcome to The Mom Show. I'm your host, Courtney Doyle, and this is a place I am giving you permission to not have it all together. Hey friends, welcome to March. I cannot believe that I just said that. Like, how did we just finish Christmas? And now we're here. But before I go any further, this is episode 200 of The Mom Show. 200 episodes. 200 times that I've sat in this chair behind this microphone and I've hit record. 200 conversations about faith and identity and motherhood. And I just have to pause and say thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for growing with me. Because if there's one thing I have learned in 200 episodes, it's this. I may have showed up and I may have hit record, but God built all of this. I am just a mom, and I learned enough about being a podcast host to get this podcast off the ground, but in no way was I the one capable of doing with this podcast what God has done with this podcast. There were seasons that I have questioned if I even wanted to do the show. There are seasons that I've had to pause, seasons that I've wondered, what is this even becoming? And is anybody even listening? And yet, here we are. We're at episode 200. I did not control this growth. God did. I did not sustain this podcast. God did. And maybe that's exactly why today's message feels so fitting. There's something about this month that always feels a little like it's a standing in between of seasons. I don't know about you guys, but in Texas, January and February are really our only quote unquote cold months. March, we're going to start warming up. And from here on out, then it's just going to be hot. So March is kind of the in-between season. Spring break is coming up. The leaves are about to start blooming again. The air right now, we're still having some cool mornings and cool evenings, but soon enough, we're going to be into what I call hot blow dryer season here in Texas. And that's when you walk outside, it feels like somebody is standing there with a blow dryer on the hottest setting, just blasting it right in your face. It sometimes takes your breath away because it's like, how can the air be so hot? You know, inside of our house, we have been doing a remodel, and so that's exciting, but the countdown is on. We are so close to the finish line, and I'm so ready to have everything put back in its place. I live a pretty chaotic life, and I think that we thrive in that area just because we are a big family, and it seems like there's always something happening. But this chaos, I'm glad that the season is coming to an end, mostly because the noise and the dust need to get themselves contained. We also have a lot of exciting things that are coming up in this next season. We have a kiddo graduating college, 5th kiddo. I can't even believe I'm saying that. We have our 6th kiddo is finishing out junior high. We are headed into another high school season next year, which again, blows my mind. We've got one of our girls has an upcoming performance, and the other daughter, she has the performance all on her own because she is having her first baby. It feels like everything is moving in warp speed, and it feels like everything is blooming. Every season is changing, and all in really exciting ways. But in the middle of all of that change, God has really been showing me something that I didn't expect. I think he's teaching me once again about control. No surprise there. I'm a type A personality. I do like things to be predictable. I like things to be as tidy and as organized as possible. You know, when you're running a household with this many people, that you thrive on that, and you need that so that it isn't, always chaotic, though it's always chaotic. It's kind of a strange place to be in. Well, this weekend we went and we saw a movie. We needed to get out of the house, do something fun. And so we went to see I Can Only Imagine 2. Now, I had seen the first one. I knew what that was about. I really didn't know, what are they doing in this sequel? And, is it going to be one of those shows where the sequel the number two isn't as great as number one. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not the truth. The number two is equally as good, maybe even better than number one. There's a moment in the movie, and the character has written in his journal, and he keeps revisiting the journal. And here's what it says. It says, "This never goes away." And he revisits this all throughout the show. And that just stuck with me as I read his words, and as I thought through that. I realized, sometimes the breakthrough that we're looking for isn't that something disappears. Sometimes it just doesn't disappear. The scar stays, the ache lingers, maybe the memories remain. As moms, that can sometimes feel terrifying as well, though, because we want resolution, we want organization, we want healing, we want answers. I want a clean house, and, we want clean endings. I think that so often we long for a testimony, whether it's for ourselves or for our children, that, is wrapped up in a beautiful bow and ready to share. But what if faith isn't about the things going away? What if faith is about who we become when they don't? There's another phrase that kept echoing throughout the whole movie, and it was 2 words: even if. And one of my all-time favorite songs that is also shared in the movie is just that. Even if things don't change, even if it takes longer than we want, even if the outcome doesn't look the way we imagined, even if it never fully goes away, where is your hope? Where is your faith? What are you anchored to? I've realized something about myself lately. I know that I like control. It's not because I want to dominate everything. I do love my people fiercely, but I think sometimes as moms, control feels like protection. If I guide enough, if I teach enough, if I monitor enough, if I pray enough, if I say all the right words at just the right time, then maybe the outcome will be okay. I think we often confuse control with safety, but motherhood will eventually teach you something that is very humbling, and that is you cannot control your children. You cannot control their choices. You cannot control how their stories unfold. And if you've ever personally walked through a hard season, or you've walked through a hard season with a child, you know that surrender stops being a sweet little Christian word that we all think, oh, I just need to surrender this. And when you're actually living in surrender, you're realizing you're living in survival. And there may have been seasons in your own motherhood. I know there's been seasons in mine where I would have done anything to change the outcome. Anything. Some things healed, some things changed, and some things didn't. And what I had to learn was this: even in the situation, even if it didn't immediately shift, God's presence never left. And was that enough? March is a blooming month. The leaves are going to start coming back out. The flowers are going to begin to bloom, and everything that had died off in winter is going to come back, possibly better and stronger. They endured the season that they were in, and they're going to come back. And I think sometimes mother can feel like that, like we're in a season that we're enduring, but we can also be anticipatory of what is to come. We can celebrate that upcoming graduation, and we can still grieve how fast it's all gone by. We can anticipate the new grandbaby, and then also remember how thin we were stretched when we were new moms with a new baby. We can feel gratitude for what's blooming and still carry grief for maybe what didn't turn out the way we hoped. I think that sometimes we just have to choose. We have to choose joy or sorrow, faith or disappointment. And I will tell you, I think that mature faith can hold both. Grief and gratitude can exist at the same table. Here's the shift that God has been pressing into my heart. I may not be able to control the outcomes, but I can control my response. I can control whether to react or to respond in love. I can control whether I tighten the grip on something or I open my hands. I can control whether I spiral into fear, into unknowns, or I can anchor into truth. You see, it's not our job to be the savior of our family. It's not our job to orchestrate every outcome. It's our job to be faithful, to show up, to love well, to apologize when needed, and to speak truth. It's our job to pray. And yes, it is our job to surrender over and over again. You see, you're only responsible for your obedience. God is responsible for the outcomes. So, as we begin March, as the leaves begin to bloom, as life accelerates with graduations and new babies for us and, different things that you may be heading into this next season with fresh starts, I want to ask you something gently. What are you gripping onto too tightly? Is it a child? Is it a timeline? Is it a dream? Is it a fear? And what would it look like if you just whispered, even if it doesn't unfold the way I want it to, my hope is still in Jesus. Even if an ache still lingers, a longing has gone unfulfilled, even if this never fully goes away, where is God? Because he does not go away. He is faithful and he is present. And you, my friend, you are held. Next week, we are jumping into our interviews, and you are going to love this mom because she talks about the season of being so busy with her boys, feeling like, God was not meeting her where she was because she wasn't showing up in a conventional way. And then God reminding her, I am right where you are in the middle of your chaos, in the middle of your busy life. And her wisdom and encouragement, I think, is going to be just the message that we need as we head into this spring season. And so I'll see you next week with my guest as we just talk about all things being a mom, being chaotic, and being so busy and feeling like, God, where are you in the middle of all of this? If this resonated with you, if you're like, Courtney, sometimes I absolutely feel like things are never going to change, I encourage you to go watch the movie I Can Only Imagine 2. I think you're going to be encouraged. I think that you are going to see yourself in this story, in some aspect of this story. Each character is represented so well, and I think that every one of us could identify with some piece of that story and the overarching message that even if things don't change, even if things don't look the way we anticipated, God is still very good and very present in our lives. And that is where our hope is. Until next time.